glad you could join me, Patriot Mom 007, today. And just for those of you who don't know, I met Kim in August this year at the Clay Clark Reawakening Tour in Las Vegas when she was kind enough to host my candidate who I am working with this election cycle in Arizona, Jeff Zink. He's running for Congress in CD3, trying to flip a blue district red, as we all are. And Kim was just really impressive to me. Honestly, when I grow up, I want to be just like Kim. And no kidding. And she is got a lot of stuff going on. She has her podcast, which is what we're going to talk about, and what happened with that recently with Salem Radio. She has some coaching she does online, so we're probably going to touch on that a little bit, so she would shout that out. She has tell me what else you have, Kim. I know I'm missing a couple
So
things.
the radio show, the podcast, the breakthrough coaching, and then I also help patriots across the country take their power back on an economic level by switching to an American manufacturer, which has been awesome. We have helped so many patriots.
I know about that. So we could talk about all of that. So let's just start with really why I wanted to have you on today is what happened to you, a fellow conservative, wonderful voice, speaking out for those who don't have a voice for freedom around our country, and what other people have decided to do to try to silence you.
Yeah. Well, Noelle, first of all, thank you very much for having me on the show today. When I see you all the time, it's like this life that just emanates from you, joy in life. So of course you're a 007 Patriot Mom. Come on, I love it. That's right. That's right.
07.
So it's just a privilege to really be here before you. And I never thought that I would be speaking about being censored and canceled from a Christian conservative media
Scary.
station. And Salem is a pretty big station. I mean, you got Charlie Kirk, Sebastian Gorka. I mean, you've got the big guys that play on the show. So let me give you a little bit of background here. So it was about a year and a half ago that I started with Salem and took on and created the Take Your Power Back show. Now, when I signed the contract with Salem, I had some powerful conversations with those at Salem to make sure that everything was above and beyond reproach and I would never be censored. That this was my show. I paid for it. I got the sponsors. I controlled who was on that show, right? Censorship wasn't even an issue. It was a non-issue. But the agreement was, Kim, absolutely, you can have anybody on this show. So I was like, okay, awesome. Then I end up at the Moment of Truth Summit with Mike Lindell shortly after. Now, that Moment of Truth Summit was the exposure of selection code, the Rosetta Stone of election fraud with Tina Peters, the Mesa County clerk, right? Dr. Douglas G. Frank, world-renowned physicist, exposes election fraud in 46 states. It was the awakening for the American population. The crowd was there. It was being broadcast live. And Mike Lindell kept saying, where are you, Salem Radio? Where are you? Why is this not being public right now? And I'm thinking to myself, what's the issue with Salem Radio? Like, oh, I mean, I'm here from Salem Radio, but there's got to be somebody else that's publicizing this right now or broadcasting this. He said it for the final time. It was that last day. Now, in those past 3 days, I had realized that my vote had been stolen. I was the one who had gone to vote. And they had told the couple before me, oh, Mr. and Mrs. Amherst, you're good to go. You voted. And then my husband and I go to vote, and they said the same thing to us. We knew we didn't vote. That couple prior to us left confused. So what did we do? We filled out a provisional ballot. And little did I know that that doesn't even count because they're going to go by that first vote. So the it was like everything in this moment was, Kim, what are you going to do? Mike just said, where are you, Salem Radio? You are Salem Radio. Responsibility, one of my top 5 strengths, right? And so I stood up in the crowd. I yelled out, Mike Lindell, this is Kim Yeater from the Take Your Power Back show on Salem Radio. I will get this on the air. He stopped. The crowd was silent. He said, what did you say? I said it again. And he said, you better get permission. I didn't understand. He had already gone through something prior with Salem Radio. So do you know what I did, Noelle?
What did you do?
I got it all over the air. I brought my teams in, Scotty Sachs from Sovereign Radio, Audra Morgan from Eye of the Storm. We got it out. Selection code all over the place. We started the National Take Our Elections Back initiative, where we partner with leaders across the country in taking our power back on a local level, exposing the election fraud, canvassing our counties, and bringing that fraud to light and holding our elected officials accountable to stopping the use of the machines and stopping the harvesting of the ballot, moving to paper vote. So that was a pretty big deal, right?
Right.
All this came from the Moment of Truth Summit. All this came from the Take Your Power Back show. It came from the freedom of speech.
That's right. So important.
Now, fast forward, I get an email in. This is about a month and a half ago. Get an email in the night before I'm about to go back to back with 2 shows. On one of those shows is Clay Clark, Reawaken America Tour, right? ThriveTimeShow.com. Y'all know Clay Clark. Clay's been on my show multiple times. I've been on
The
Clay's show.
country, no less. Traveling
In
across country, state to state.
traveling across the country, bringing the truth into the light. Now, the email said you can't have Clay on the show. And that was coming directly from Salem. I said, why can't I have Clay on the show? He's in the midst of litigation with Dominion, the Dominion machines. Now, we all know about the Dominion machines, Dominion suing Fox. Now, if we
Right.
follow the rabbit hole of Murdoch and the money and Dominion, it all washes out. It's really just for the appearance. So Clay Clark was really bringing things into the light and having people challenging them to take a deeper look and holding people accountable. So the fact that Clay couldn't be on and the fact that they're telling me who and who cannot be on, what's going to happen when General Flynn's on? What's going to happen when Donald J. Trump is on?
Yeah.
Right? These people are in the
Little bit
midst
of
of litigation.
litigation going on there.
Yeah. So I was like, okay, well, Kim, you're all about taking your power back. How are you going to take your power back here? And I'm like, God, what do I do in the midst of this?
Yeah.
And so I reached out to Salem and said, listen, let's get the show on all my podcast platforms. We're still going to record tomorrow. I'll be in studio. And I wasn't going to cross the bridge right then. I mean, I'm in the midst of, getting the show on, right? So I call up my partner in the Take Our Elections Back, Scotty Sachs, and I go, Scotty, I'm bringing you into the show tomorrow with Clay Clark. The title of the show, When the Good Guys Go Bad and the Bad Guys Go Good, right? It was an amazing show. And then what I did was I made a video before I actually sent this out and I held this for 2 weeks. 2 weeks I held this, Noelle, because I wanted to do the right thing here. I was like, okay, God, you've got to show me this is your show. It's not my show. And it's so funny when my husband said to me, what are you doing? Take your power back, Kim Yeater. You're
Right.
being silenced. You're being censored.
Live it.
You've got to stand up. And I was like, wow, come on, Rick. I was like, all right. So I did. And the show right across the face of it said censored, right? When the good guys go bad and the bad guys go good. And I got it out and I did a video that let people know, and I attached it to kind of what had happened to make this show censored. Well, that show went out everywhere except on Salem Radio. But Salem Radio saw it on my social media. So I got the phone call in. You're canceled, done, kaput, you're done. I
That's
can't believe you did this to us. Listen, I didn't throw Salem under the bus. Here's what I did. I love the team I worked with at Salem. They're extraordinary. Hats off to Todd Piernick. He's amazing, right? Stacy, all of them. They're really awesome people. They were covering their butts.
sure.
It's a paycheck for them,
Of course.
And so I wasn't throwing them under the bus. I was really bringing to light, like, what do we do in the midst of adversity, Noelle?
Right. We have
What
to
do we
adapt to
do
it.
when we're canceled? When the good guys kind of turn on us to cover their butts. We've all been in situations where we've felt betrayed or where we've experienced something like this. So how do we powerfully navigate through this? Do we give way to fear? The Bible says there's no fear in love. Perfect love drives out fear. Fear has to do with punishment. Those who fear are not made perfect in love. This was really an opportunity to trust God, to move into the love. He is the source of love. And so the show came out, I got canceled, and I was like, oh, what do I do? Where do I go? Okay, what's next? Okay, God, you provide.
Right.
What's next? So I start with Townsquare. We've now transitioned, which was really so perfect, the timing of it.
Right.
Townsquare is a great platform.
Okay.
Really love these guys. Scotty Sachs from Sovereign Radio, one of my partners in the Take Our Elections Back, is on that platform. So I will start up in January, and by June, we'll all be syndicating under Sovereign Radio. So it'll be me and Vandersteel, Sheriff Mack, Dave Hodges, and Scotty Sachs.
Okay.
So the transition was really perfect, right? So that's kind of the story. So
Wow.
how am I handling this?
Yeah, quite well, apparently. I mean, you're doing what you need to do, and
Yes,
you're speaking your voice the way you tell people they should, which is always a good thing to see when you get consistency in people's characteristics. What they say and what they do, we like to see those match up, and we know these days they hardly ever do, unfortunately. Even with some of our conservatives, even the good conservatives, sometimes people just fold. It's hard to do what you're doing. And Tucker did it, right? We saw Tucker got booted
that's
right
right.
out of the blue,
That's
and then
right.
just moved on, and he just found some new platforms, and he's rolling. Obviously, I don't get to see him anymore because I don't have time to go on those platforms. He was
Mhm.
immediately on my box every night at 6 o'clock. But yeah, you just have to, I guess, find your next space that allows the voice, or create them. Now, Town Square, I've not heard of Town Square. So I've heard of Public Square. So is Town Square a version of them
It's
on?
just like Salem Radio, Townsquare Media.
Okay.
So just like you find at, Salem Media,
Okay.
Townsquare Media.
Okay.
So we're going to be, so here's what we're doing is I'm going to be hitting the markets in Texas.
Okay.
A lot of patriot communities in Texas. Now, here's the great thing. I love my Southern California community, but we're listened to throughout the US, and we've got listeners outside of our country, which is pretty amazing, right?
That's it.
So we have the link every week so that people can tap on in. Now, here's the thing I got to tell you. I've got a team that's beginning to take on my social media. With running the National Take Our Elections Back, with running my Breakthrough Peak Performance Coaching business, and then running the radio show, I can only balance so much. And some of my days have been 18-hour a days.
Understood.
Well, so it's,
Yeah.
so we're working on that, expanding the social media to get the message out because we've had a great listenership on the radio. So now we're going to work that in. So I'm excited to be here and to share this story.
Me
And
too.
I would say for anybody that is being censored right now, or canceled, I'm not on YouTube. I was canceled a while back.
Right.
LinkedIn canceled me as well. Can you believe LinkedIn?
Learning.
So as I was bringing truth into the light, and so and we're off and on Facebook. How all
Yes.
the
Me too.
algorithms,
Ditto.
how all exactly.
Instagram.
It's like we're in Facebook jail.
Yes.
So
Hit miss.
but what we get to do is when we're really walking in step with the Creator, walking in step, the Bible says, Jesus says, those who will worship me in spirit and in truth. Those are the worshipers I seek. I really believe that as one door opens, God, or one door closes, God is going to open that next door. So it's really, rather than taking it personally, like, ouch, that hurt, I can't believe it, and me making it mean something, it just is what it is. There's a
Transition.
door closed.
Better.
It's a transition. I love those guys at
And that's
Salem.
a good way to use the word, by the way. We like that version of the
Oh yeah, yeah. This is a powerful transition. And
yes.
there's a
Good line.
rainbow over my life that comes from God, the creator, and his promise.
Right. Totally true. We got to take our words back too, take our meanings back as well.